Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. And by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. In-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 170, October 22nd, 2014. We visit Valerie's new antenna farm. Good evening, everybody. I'm back. K9EID, and I'm in the Ozarks. Let me turn my radio down so it's not overpowering me. Listening on 40 meter AM, of course. But wanted to say hi to all of the fans that are out there. We met so many when we were out in Pacificon, down in Pigeon Forge. It's just been really wonderful seeing everybody, and we appreciate all the support. And I really appreciate you guys taking care of things back here. I told Valerie yesterday, I was chatting with her a little. I said, I was curious if I came back, if you guys still have my name on the wall, but I guess it's still here. Oh, we got another wonderful show tonight. Don's with us. George is with us. Gordo's with us. So we're going to make that all happen. And then Dale's got some really cool video that he's going to show after a while. And you know what happens the last 5 to 10 minutes? Amanda's going to come in here and we're going to find out more what's going on in the chat room. So that's what's happening. But before we get too carried away, we're going to switch out to Costa Mesa and see what's going on out there. Gordo, how you doing?
We are fine. Hello, Ham Nation. Hey, it's paper time, and Ham Radio Outlet just came out with their brand new catalog that Janet Margelli puts together. DX Engineering. We love your catalog. Just came out. Be sure and check it out, and you'll learn in a few moments how to get your own catalog. And they even sent me, look at this, guys, an umbrella. Is that an umbrella? We haven't had rain for so long. We need rain. So maybe DX Engineering send some rain along. Well, it won't be raining this weekend for the CQ Worldwide Phone Contest. And we're going to be building an antenna in just a few minutes. We want to meet you at 28333. 28333, technician class privileges there. At Saturday morning, anytime in the morning, I'll be there. Of course, tonight after the net, 3847 for Cheryl. She'll be there. Fresno. This is their second session of classes. The Fresno Fame Group is presenting ham classes on Tuesday and Thursday. And for the many of you that wrote in for the training program, all I need to know is a lot about your upcoming class, how you're going to use our book, maybe in place of someone else's book, and we'll be happy to send you a sample, but give us plenty of documentation. October 25 and 26 this weekend, Cole County Amateur Radio Club. They're heading for the mountains in Boone County, and they say work 'em from 8 land. And coming up this weekend is the Chattanooga Amateur Radio Club having their Ham Fest on Saturday, October 25th. Sunday, October 26th, Limark, Long Island Mobile Amateur Radio Club. What a great group. They hold a ham fest in Hicksville, and they have a great time. So check them out. I've been there before. The Limark Ham Fest this coming Sunday. Go to limark.org. Now, in a couple more weeks, the Raytown Club is having its Ham Fest in Missouri. Stone Mountain having one in Missouri as well. NARC Fest, Nick's Event Center. Bob's going to be there. That's November 8th. And of course, watch out East Coast. I'm headed your way November 15 and 16 for the KJI Open House in New Jersey. And then 17 to 22, I'll be in the city, New York City and Long Island with Ken Newbeck, WB2AMU. We'll be checking out club instructors along the way. So that's the plan, or else we'll see you at Quartz Fest the last full week in January. Bob, that's my plans. What are yours? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, we're getting ready for the Nixa thing. Nixa is a great club just south of Springfield. They have a lot of activity, and they're one of the keys into keeping all the repeaters going and the ones that intertie with everybody around here. So we're looking forward to that. But other than that, I'm going to be on the air a lot this week, so check it out. And I guess I'll get in the great pileups around on the CQ Worldwide. We're looking forward to that too. But we're gonna come back. First of all, you'll notice the shirt that I have on. A lot of people are going to say, "What's the deal here?" That shirt is kind of a historic shirt. It's our 100th show, but that was 70 ago. But I was back at our plant last week for a couple of days, and our director of operations, Stephen Warford, he runs that place, he and Sarah. I saw this pile of shirts, and he said, "Hey, I found some shirts. So we're going to come back to you in a little bit and tell you how you can get one of these." It's very historic because it only happened once, and we made one of these, so I'll tell you later about that. Don, you have one of these shirts, and I really appreciated those videos that you sent about the cruise. That was really cool. What else is happening in your world, Don?
Oh, all kinds of stuff is going on over here. Hey, Bob, look, before we get into the business at hand, look what's out and about now. That's right. If you worked K6H, those cards are out in the wild. They are being delivered now. So get on that. But I want to talk to you, though, about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is Audible.com. This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible is the leading provider of audiobooks. They have more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature and fiction, nonfiction, periodicals, everything. And if you're a Ham Nation listener and viewer, Audible has a free audiobook for you just to try out the service. Now, one you might consider is one that I'm actually reading right now or listening to, and it is Stephen King, The Tommyknockers. This thing is, I'm not very far into it yet because, well, quite frankly, I haven't had a chance to listen lately because I totaled my car out and I don't have Bluetooth in my replacement car, and I don't really want to drive with earbuds, but I'm dying to get back into The Tommyknockers. But Stephen King, just, I've been on such a Stephen King binge, and one that I downloaded actually not too long ago when I got my next credit was Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I cannot wait to get into this. Especially, I was hoping I'd be into it already, of course, with Halloween right around the corner. But anyway, those are a couple that you might consider. Select the audiobook of your choice. You go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. Get either of those two for free or another one of your choice. It's audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. And just great books, and I'd say I can't recommend Audible enough. It saves me, saves my sanity in my daily commute, my 125-mile round trip, and you'll love it too. I promise you. Audible podcast.com/hamnation. Bob, back to you.
All right, we will look forward to that. Getting your car fixed up so you can hear the books, of course. Well. First of all, we have to realize that today is a really special day. It's the 22nd, and guess what it is? It's a birthday for, guess who? Valerie. Yay.
Happy birthday,
Valerie. Yes.
And I know that her and Jerry are probably out having a big dinner somewhere, but to hope she'll watch the replay. And we don't want to forget the CQ Worldwide. And I got word from a very close friend of hers that they're going to be on the air with all those big towers and antennas that Dale's going to show us after a while. And it's going to be under NV9L. So things to change at a big station up the way here, but we'll be looking forward to working them. And a happy birthday to you. Well, I told you about this shirt. There's only about a dozen of them. And Stephen said, what do I do with them? You want to just throw them away or take them to the Goodwill? No. So here we go. He's put a package together. For $20, you're going to get one of these shirts, and there's only a few left, and he's going to put one of these with it. So you're going to get 2 T-shirts, but one of them is going to be very historic. So if you're a real Ham Nation fan and you'd like to have one of these 100th shirts, all you got to do is call the phone number, and it's 618-257-3000. And that's what you have to do. Call and tell them you want one of the shirts, and they're going to get you 2 of them. And as I said, there's only very few of them left. So rather than throw them away, that's what we're going to do. We'll share them with you. So give the phone number 618-257-3000. If you forget it, just go to the website heilsound.com, and it'll be on the bottom of that too. And that's how we're going to handle that. I'm really excited that he had a few of them, because I've had people ask me about these shirts, and we sold all of them. We had a date, and that went quick that year, but he found a few more. So there you go. I'm working on a couple of projects here. I hope to have some video. I'm working on some audio things. I get so many requests from all of you, and if I can stay home long enough, I want to get that done. So I just answer everybody. I will be getting that finished, and we'll have it on here in the next week or so that you'll get to see more about how to hook up your audio and all that good stuff to your radios. So we're going to go back to Don, because Don has some good news about amateur radio from Bill Pasternak's Newsline. Don, take it away.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 1940, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, October 22nd, 2014. When a powerful cyclone swept into the coastal areas of India on Sunday, October 12th, the ham radio community there was ready.
Cyclone Hudhud made landfall with winds up to 125 miles per hour, damaging buildings, power systems, and causing a total loss of communications in many areas. Cell phone systems were overloaded quickly and soon failed. Media reports blame the storm for at least 20 deaths. That's where ham radio stepped in. Jehu Bahidi, VU2JAU, is India's national coordinator for disaster communication. According to Bahidi, there are currently 6 hams in the Odisha region, working to maintain the communications covering the entire state. In the Andhra coastal area, all communications is handled by the National Institute of Amateur Radio, under control of VU2JAU from the Amateur Radio Society of India. A complete damage assessment, cleanup from the storm, and the return of normal lines of communications is likely to take several more days. For the Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meacham, ZL 2BHF in Nelson, New Zealand.
The IARU Region 1 Monitoring System newsletter reports a Russian high-power over-the-horizon radar system centered around 21 megahertz recently affected the entire 15-meter band.
Added to this, a Russian voice scrambler nicknamed Yakhta has been transmitting daily on 21.0 megahertz on USB voice encryption that also contains a frequency shift keyed synchro signal with a 100 baud rate and 150 hertz shift. That transmitter's location is believed to be at Nizhny Tagil. Meantime, a spurious emission from Voice of Iran is also causing interference on 21.249 megahertz.
That's Skeeter Nash, N5ASH. If you're looking to ham up your new iPhone 6, 6 Plus, or any other iDevice, check this out.
If you have a device running Apple's new iOS 8 operating system, you can now add an app that will permit sending Morse code from that unit. Morse code Telegraph Keyboard plugs directly into your iPhone's keyboard and lets you send dots and dashes from right within iMessage or your favorite email. The most interesting feature of the keyboard app is its relative lack of keys. It only includes the bare essentials of a J38-looking key and a handy Morse code alphabet and numbers guide. If you want to give it a try, Morse Code Telegraph Keyboard is available for only 99 cents at the App Store.
According to a posting on Facebook, QSL cards for the recent K6H Hollywood Celebrates Ham Radio operating event have arrived from the printers and have been forwarded to the California-based Papa system for distribution. The event was held September 28th and originated from historic Stage 9 of CBS Studio Center in Studio City, California, and the fully dressed set of ABC's hit TV show Last Man Standing, starring Tim Allen, coincidentally, now a ham. In the past, Stage 9 has been the home of such shows as Seinfeld and Spin City, among others. If you work the special event station, please QSL direct to the Papa System address you'll find on QRZ. Just search K6H. Pacificon 2014 is in the books, and Amateur Radio Newsline spoke with Gordon West, WB6 NOA, about it.
What a great job the Mount Diablo Amateur Radio Club and other volunteers did in pulling it off. On Friday afternoon, as well as all day Saturday and half a Sunday, the exhibit hall opened. And let me tell you, who's who with ham radio was there in the exhibit hall, and all of the majors were there, all of the up-and-comings were there, and the booth was absolutely filled throughout the entire day. I knew it was going to be big when I saw the swap meet going on in the dead of dark on Saturday morning. Probably about 2,000, 2,400, and they were all with smiles.
Pacificon 2015 is moving a couple of miles away to the San Ramon Marriott in San Ramon, California. Next year's dates are October 16th through the 18th. And if you have a suggestion to help make next year's event even better, let the planners know by email to info@pacificon.org. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for over 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. With Jim Meachins at L2BHF, Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, and Gordon West, WB6NOA, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
Hey, Don, thanks a lot for the Newsline. We always appreciate your work and that. It's really great. And we got to go back to Gordo before we come back to George. Let's see what Gordo's got in his short shots. I missed that up at the top. I got so carried away with wishing happy birthday to Val. Gordo, what do you got for the shorts tonight?
Well, you know, Val last week mentioned that the big CQ Worldwide Voice phone contest coming up this weekend, and I thought, let's get technician class operators on the air on 10 meters. And someone sent me a note saying, Gordo, I saw in one of the photos when you're up at Leo's place that you had a dipole. Why would you have a dipole? Why a dipole? Well, let me show you. So, Brian, let's roll the dipole. And, of course, the dipole is a half wavelength long, and it is resonant on the band that you cut it. And for the 10-meter band, it's going to be 8 foot 6 inches per side, or maybe a little bit shorter. And that's a little CW. Look at this, technician class operators. You have voice privileges from 28.3 to 28.5, but below 28.3 down to 28.2, when you build your dipole, you should hear this. Those are beacon. And if you build a dipole and you hear plenty of beacons coming in from 28.2 to 28.3, you're ready for DX. And you don't need to go out and buy a $100 dipole. Nope. You don't need to go out and buy a more expensive, elaborate system that would give you, let's say, an even balance. This balun, not necessary. We're going to show you how you can do it yourself. Nope, you don't need any type of interference filter. We're going to be doing that themselves. All you need to do is to get the feed point up high, keep it away from everything metal, and you'll be rolling. And no, you don't need a $80 antenna launcher to get it up high, because for 10 meters, you don't need more than about 15 feet of elevation. So if you're planning on climbing a tower to put up your 10-meter dipole, forget it. You don't need to do all that. So let's take a look and see what's going to be in your dipole we're going to build right here. Nope, you don't need the big RG213 coax either. but you do need some good coax. No, this old CB type coax won't cut it. New coax from DX Engineering. They've got my favorite RG8X. And this type of coax is just what you need. Lightweight for your dipole antenna. You'll need a pair of diagonals. And if we look at this pair of diagonals, you'll see that the points are not real pointy, but a little blunt on the end on purpose. That way you're not going to nick anything on the inside when you're working on the outside. And first thing we do is on a piece of good quality coax, we nip away at the jacket. The jacket is non-contaminating. It's not going to crack in the UV light if you get it from DX Engineering. And we pull that jacket off with a pair of diagonals and keep that piece because you may want to use it for a little covering later on. There we go. You got the jacket off. Step one on our dipole. Take a look and notice that this particular type of coax actually has a foil inner surrounding the hot conductor. We're not going to be using the foil, so we strip the foil back and we give it a little nip with a pair of nippers. And now we're going to expose the end of the coax because this coax came from my work shed, and I want to make sure once I've got the exposed end ready that when I test it with a simple ohm meter, I'm going to see an open connection until I put my fingers over the other end of the coax, and notice now I'll see some conductivity. Great way for checking out coax. But again, that coax should be an open connection with nothing showing on your ohm meter. All right, let's take a quick look at this coax. So we got center conductor, we've got a outside jacket, and we've got the inside insulation, and of course the conductor surrounding the inside insulation called the shield. Again, we don't need that little silver stuff, but we do need to take the shield apart, and we do that so we can begin to get at it. And let's get rid of that little bit of tin foil. We braid the shield out. This could take all of 10 seconds, cut off that portion. And then we go ahead and twist the shield. And now we are ready to form up what would be the ends for the dipole, 8.5 feet on each side. 8.5 feet to the shield, 8.5 to the center conductor. And here, I just found this, a great little way to use as a center insulator. Poke them through there, nice and neat. And we're going to have one going one direction and one going the other direction. But now we need wire. So when no one's looking, swipe that extension cord. You know, the one you've had in the hall closet just hanging around. That's more than long enough. So without anybody looking, cut the cord. Again, double check no one's looking. And when we have that dipole looking good, we're going to strip apart each side of this plain old zip cord. And Mama will not even know that you did that as long as you hide the ends that we aren't going to use in a trash can. And if you get away with that, we're ready for the dipole. All right, each side of the zip cord, 8 feet 6 inches. Make one cut, then strip them apart. Temporarily, we're going to just wind them up like this to see if we've got liftoff. And we'll even put little cable nuts on them just so it doesn't brush against any tree. This is not our final installation. We're going to put a little bit of this black stuff. This comes from Universal Radio called Coax Seal. They probably have it at DX Engineering. It's good for sealing the end of coax. We don't plan to leave it up but for the contest. So hoist it up. Spread those little wires out. But before we do that, we've got to do the other end of the coax, and that is the PL259. All right, first of all, we need to add the adapter. And here it's a UG176. I think that's the number. That's the adapter for the smaller coax. We need to be sure and put on the outside coaxial cable plug sleeve. And we now bear the copper. We pull the copper back. We trim away that little bit of tin foil that gives us 100% braid, good quality coax. Fan it back on the adapter, a UG176. And as you can see, we're going to be able to solder it once we screw on that top connector. And we're ready to go. but we have too much of the white insulation. So we got to cut off a little bit of that white insulation, but watch out. This is what gets folks in trouble. Notice that one little wire is shorting out the work, so don't let that happen. Make sure that you've got a nice clean connection. Meter it before you even think about soldering it. Screw on that connector and temporarily just bend a little bit of it over the ends. I mean, if you were in the boondocks and you had no way of soldering, you could even jam this into the back of a radio and it'd probably work. We don't recommend that, but in an emergency, anything goes. All right, now we need to, before we start to solder that connector, we need to develop our ballon. And the ballon is going to keep all of the energy from flowing back down the outside of the coax. Take your one-a-day health bottle, a piece of duct tape backwards, put it over the container, and begin to do your wrap. And this is a Susie wrap. She has a much better wrap than I do. And we'll take about 6 turns, 7 turns if you want to. We'll then take the black tape and put it back over on the wraps, pull it off the bottle, and wow, you've just made your own ballon that is going to keep a choke on things so that we don't have any of that energy coming back down. All right, now we got to do something with this connection here. We can't just leave them mooshed together. So we take a little soldering iron, nice solder job, get them all soldered up. Yeah, looking good. Now we go ahead and on the end, we trim that. And we go ahead and solder that, making sure that it's a nice, clean connection, which it is. And I know you're getting tired of the Morse code in the background, but the letter C should remind you. C, this is easy. It's a little tough here, but you got to solder the inner braid to the inside of the coax connector. And that we did. Oh, look at that. Nice, sharp connection. Remember, that connection is hot, so let it cool down. All right, we head outside with our soldered up connection. We've got a convenient tree to pull it up. One side is 8 feet. That's white. The other side is 8 feet plus. That's white. And the gray is the coax. And use good DX Engineering coax. Hoist it up. Oh, it looks good already. That's what it looks like at a distance. I mean, your neighbors won't even know you're going to be on 10 meters this weekend. And once you have it tie off one side, the cat is holding down that side. The local tree on the other side is holding down that side. Don't worry if it comes close to the tree branches. No problem. Worst you could do is catch the tree on fire. Then take a look on the SWR analyzer. Whoa, not good. We're up a little too high. I made it a little too short. Well, in anticipation of making it a little too short, I had an extra amount of single wire that I bound back on itself. And to make it longer, just take a couple of wraps off and go like that. That's good for a couple hundred kilohertz. And now, with each end with a little pigtail hanging off, whoa, look at that. Perfect 1-to-1 match. So now we're on 28,400. First thing I heard on 28,400, below that, from 28.2 to 28.3 are beacons. That's a good sign. And when you look at it on the spectrum scope, tons of beacons. Beacons are good. And we made our first transmission. Who did we reach? A station down in Panama, and then followed up by a King Henry 6 station. And that's with this dipole just barely above my head. So if you're thinking of getting on 10 meters this weekend and you've got a radio, tune in between 28,300 to 28,500. We will be on 28,333 most of Saturday morning. And we'd love to work your little dipole. So strut your stuff, get that wire out there, and build your own dipole. We did this for $2. But then Susie found out I chopped up her extension cord, so it's going to probably cost me another $3 at a swap meet to replace. So chat room and everyone else will hear you on the air this weekend, 28,333 with your home brew dipole. And Ron Schaefer said he built his little dipole and has worked literally the world. 10 meters is hot. Be there this weekend. Bob, back to you in the chat room. Bob?
Okay. It's 28333. Just so I don't forget, I will be there. I want everybody else to be there. See, that's really simple, guys and gals. It's not a big deal. And I'll tell you what is a big deal. The first time you hit that push to talk button and somebody from Panama or England or Japan or just your buddy the 3 states away, it's exciting and it's really easy. That was really great. Really great. A nice job, Susie. And Gordo, I guess. Gordo had a little bit to do with it. Well, we're going to go see what George has got going. I think he's going to talk about ICOM first. But George, I missed you, buddy. We've been gone here a week. But boy, do we have fun out west or what? You didn't tell some of the places you didn't tell any about that, did you?
No.
I mean, when I was gone, you guys didn't tell none of that stuff, did you? We were...
No, Tommy had asked me about that stuff and wanted to know if you and Gordo led me astray, and I just told him we couldn't talk about that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Gordo we really vow him to secrecy because, he really gets in with a lot of people. So we were lucky, George. So what can I tell you? Yeah. Take her away, George. It's really good to be back and I hope you're doing well. So off to the old solder and smoke hut.
Okay, Bob. Well, we're going to do that tonight. We're going to continue by talking a little bit about that tuner I built a few weeks ago. But first, I think we need to have this important announcement from ICOM. 2014 marks the 50th anniversary of ICOM Incorporated. To celebrate this milestone year, ICOM is releasing 2 limited edition radios, the IC7850 HF 50 MHz transceiver and a special ID51A VHF-UHF dual-band handheld. These models are limited in quantity and include innovative features that you can only expect from ICOM. The IC7850 is the pinnacle of HF perfection. There will only be 150 units available worldwide. This limited edition radio has vibrant gold accents, and each unit will have a 50th anniversary limited edition plate. Features include a 1.2 kilohertz optimized roofing filter for improved in-band adjacent signal performance and excellent dynamic range, a new local oscillator design with a CN ratio that excels beyond the competitors and creates a new benchmark for phase noise with an amazing -150 dBc/Hz at 10 kilohertz offset and 140 dBc/Hz even at 1 kilohertz offsets. There are also several new scope enhancements such as an improved spectrum scope for faster sweep speed and better accuracy, a dual scope function to simultaneously see activities in both receivers, a high-resolution spectrum scope screen, and enhanced mouse operation for the spectrum scope. The ID51A unlocks the power of D-Star from the palm of your hand. Only 5,000 units are available worldwide. This radio will feature the words 50th anniversary on the front interface. It comes in blue, green, red, white, and black limited edition colors. The special edition features include faster data transfer in DV mode, RSMS1A Android app compatibility, additional D+ reflector link commands. Other enhanced digital features include DV and FM repeater search and DPRS functions, and a long antenna is supplied for optimal receive performance. Make sure you visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM's 50th anniversary limited edition IC7850 and ID51A. 51A 50th anniversary edition there. Wouldn't that make a nice handy talkie? Well, you've got a chance to win one. After each episode of Ham Nation, go to icomamerica.com/hamnation and register to win some great prizes from the ICOM swag store. We've got T-shirts, hats, and a lot of different things. But you'll also automatically be entered in the monthly drawing for the grand prize. And in October, yes, it's going to be that ID51A 50th anniversary edition, a dual-band, dual-watch 5-watt handheld, rich D-Star features, and integrated GPS features, automatic repeater list-up, micro SD card slot, and a lot more. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation after this and each episode and throw your name in the hat for a chance to win. Well, a few weeks ago, we built this little adventure tuner. I met up with Joe Eisenberg recently. I think we were talking about this in Huntsville, and he had built one. And I thought, well, I've just got to build one of those. And this would go great with Gordo's a little 10-meter dipole there. If you don't get it tuned exactly right, you throw one of these on here for QRP, and nice little project, but we built it, and I really didn't have a chance to test it there. And that's what we're going to look at this week. We're going to test this out and kind of look at what a tuner does. So, Brian, if you'll roll that footage. The last time we got together to build something, it was the Adventure Tuner from Soto Beams. This week, we're going to test it out.
The test will be with an ohm meter. The first thing we'll do is measure between the two terminals here on the left-hand side, and it should be infinite, and it is. And then between the two on the right-hand side, that's infinite as well. And then between the two red terminals, and we've got about 0.1 ohms there with all the switches out. Now let's put all the switches in. Now that rose to about 0.2 or 0.3 ohms there. The documentation says it should be between 1 and 50 ohms, so we're a little low on that, but I'm pretty certain that I've got all the chokes wound correctly, so let's just try it out with RF and see how it works. I brought out my standby rig and turned the power down from 100 watts to just 5 watts, since this is a QRP tuner and probably wouldn't handle 100 watts very well. I started with everything off and the capacitor in the center position, and I keyed up, and I can see the lights are glowing here just a little bit. I'll adjust the capacitor, and I can see the light gets brighter when it's all the way down. And I flip in a couple of inductors here, and that seems to be about as bright as the light would get, so we'll assume that that's tuned. On this 100 watt rig, the SWR meter doesn't read anything when you turn it down to 5 watts, so I really can't tell exactly how well it's tuned, just that this is where the light got brightest. So if you didn't have an SWR meter, this is how you would tune it to tell when you're delivering maximum power to the antenna, which is not necessarily the lowest SWR. You can feed the transmitter in on the left-hand side and the antenna in on the right-hand side when the antenna impedance is higher than 50 ohms. If the antenna impedance is lower, you can flip these two around. This is a bidirectional tuner, so then we would feed the transmitter here and the antenna on this side, and that will give us the ranges we need to tune in case of a lower impedance. Now, just to get a better idea of what this is going to do, I'm going to take one of my favorite antenna analyzers here, the MFJ 225. It's a graphene analyzer, and that'll allow us to see exactly what's going on here. First, let's talk about the display we're seeing here. Across the bottom is the frequency. In the center is 7.342 megahertz. We're using a 40 meter off center fed dipole, and we can see that it's actually resonant a little below there. On the vertical column here on the right, we can see the bottom line is 1.1 or 1-to-1 SWR. The next one here at the 2 would be 1.2 to 1, 1.5, 1.8, 2 to 1, 2.5 to 1, and 3 to 1. So what we're going to try to do here with the tuner is adjust the match so that the transmitter sees the resonance being here in the center at 7.342 megahertz. Right now we have no inductors on, and we have the capacitor in the mid position. First, let's turn the capacitor and see what happens. We can see that it's getting narrower here, but it's not really changing where it's resonant. So let's add some inductance. We'll add 0.1 microhenries first. That moved it a little bit. Let's add in another 0.2 microhenries. That's moved it a little further up. Now let's adjust the capacitor and see what happens. And we can see that's moving the resonance on up. Now let's add in another 0.4 microhenries. And we can see it got sharper, but it did dip here in the center, and the capacitor still allows us to adjust. So what we've got here is a 0.1 and a 0.2 and a 0.4. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7 microhenries of inductance added in our L network. So that's 0.7 microhenries. Let's turn those three off and let's just put it on 8 microhenries. Gives us about the same reading there. We can adjust our capacitor to move it around slightly. So right here we've got an excellent match, SWR of 1.13. So the tuner is working. Now let's swap the two leads and see what happens. Let's put the transmitter over on this side. And the transmitter is, of course, our antenna analyzer. We can see it's shifted slightly here, not a lot. We can take our capacitor, and it's still allowing us to adjust it. But we're not having much change here on the frequency of the resonance. Let's change some of the inductors. We can see it pretty much goes back to where we started at a while ago. So on this frequency, we could actually use virtually the same settings as before, except we're not getting our resonance exactly where we wanted it there. Now we're using coax to feed the antenna and the transmitter here, but you could use balance line if you wanted to, just by using the binding post here. So there you go, the Soda Beams Adventure Tuner. A nice little tuner, great for QRP applications.
And that's kind of how the tuner works. It looks like it does its job, and that was really a lot easier for me to find where it was resonant, because the little LEDs that are on here as tuning indicators, they lit up, but I really couldn't tell that they were changing brilliance much as I went through the tuning ranges here. So that was a little difficult for me to tune by that, but putting it on the antenna analyzer, you could see exactly what it was doing. Well, if you noticed, if I sounded like I was at the end of a tunnel or something like that, always check to make sure you got your microphone connector plugged firmly into the camera. If you don't, then your camera mic's going to pick you up, and with the air conditioner and everything else running, you may have to do some noise reduction and end up with something that sounded kind of like that. But we'll be paying closer attention to that in the future. But to make up for that bad sound on there, I've got a good sound for you, and that's these Heil ProSet 3s, a great set of headphones. These are the same ones I use for all my video work. And last week I asked a question, and this came from the general amateur pool. What is the RMS voltage across a 500-turn secondary winding in a transformer if the 2250 ohms or 2250-turn primary is connected to 120 volts AC? And the choices were A, 2370 volts, B, 540 volts, C, 26.7 volts, or D, 5.9 volts. And we got an answer from Bruce Wilkie, N0XL. Good call sign, Bruce. And he said the answer would be C, 26.7 volts. And you're correct, Bruce, and we're going to send this Heil ProSet 3 right out to you. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. The way that you calculate that, you know, the secondary was 500 turns. The primary was 2250 turns. So that's going to be a step-down transformer. If there's more windings on the primary than there is on the secondary, you're going to have a drop in voltage. So you would take the primary turns, 2250, and divide it by 500. That would give you a turns ratio of 4.5. And then you just take your input voltage there, 120 volts AC, and divide that by that 4.5, and that would tell you 26.7 volts. So that's how you figured. It's all to do with the number of turns between the ratio of the primary and the secondary. So for next week, we're gonna ask this question again, but we're just going to make a slight change to it. What would be the RMS voltage across a 500-turn secondary winding of a transformer if the 2250-turn primary is connected to 100 volts DC? So if you think you know the answer to that, send it to me at hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you'll have a chance to win this Chameleon CHA ZEP. It's a antenna designed to work, I believe, from 160 meters up through, I believe it's 10 meters, not positive on that, and I can't reach the sheet with it right now. But it's got the impedance transformer, or balun here, as well as a short coax jumper with it, and it's 75 foot long. So nice antenna there. And if you'd like to win, just answer that question, hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and it could be you whose name I'll call next time. So now I guess really we need to bring Dale in here because we haven't had any viewer videos in a while. So take it away, Dale.
Okay, very good. Well, George, thank you very much. We got our umbrella from DX Engineering also in the mail yesterday, and all we need some rain now. But this is really nice. Esther will be putting this to good work there, I think, pretty quickly. We've been working with the DX Engineering active antenna and having some fun here in the last weekend or so. So should be real good. And
Dale?
Yes.
With all that DX Engineering stuff you got there, the hat, the nice umbrella and all, why don't we have a message from them right now?
Hey, sounds good. Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, why don't we? Look what I got. I got the DX Engineering catalog. I got all kinds of stuff in here. This is, oh man, it's color and everything. Oh, yeah, the ham radio hobby isn't just about antennas and radios. It's about the interaction between people and the human connection, whether it's connection to Cincinnati or Sri Lanka. And now you can harness the power of social media for better connections. We're talking about the social media of ham radio. You can also link up with DX Engineering in cyberspace and get the latest up-to-the-minute scoop on new products and issues confronting the ham radio community. You go to dxengineering.com, sign up for the email newsletters. Do you get them? Well, you need to, because you get new product information right from the source. Be in the know before your friends even know. You'll also be in on all the email-only exclusives and sneak peeks of deals for new gear. And the newsletters are just crammed full of technical information and tech articles. Also, a comprehensive video library on YouTube. Exclusive interviews with ham radio celebrities and manufacturers, virtual station tours, some of the most respected operators on the planet. The aerial view of the K3LR is worth the price of admission right there. And, of course, the price of admission is free. So, hey, there you go. New products in action. You can see them. You can understand how they work to make your on-air experience even better. In-depth details on how to improve your station performance. Also, DX Engineering is very active on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Share pictures of your shack, your latest club events, homebrew projects, get updates on ham radio news. It's an interactive community of ham radio operators and just the best guys in the world. Ask questions, get answers. It's all right there. DX Engineering also posts exclusive deals for its Facebook and Twitter fans. You'll be the first to know about new products and special deals. You can find links to DX Engineering social media, email, and YouTube sites right there at dxengineering.com. And look what else they have in the catalog. This is cool. You got to dress your shack up a little bit, or maybe, I don't know, you like stickers? Get just a sticker. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got clothes. They've got chairs for, field day. Just the best stuff. And, of course, like we said, the umbrella. The umbrella. DX Engineering also, they ship faster than anybody else in the industry. Get your order in by 10 p.m. Eastern. If it's in stock, it'll be on the truck headed your way tonight. Proven products, expert advice, DX Engineering, helping you shrink the globe. Request a catalog, shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/hamnation. dxengineering.com/hamnation. All right, Dale opened up his umbrella inside, and nothing happened. So I'm going to try it myself and see what happens. I don't usually have very good luck with this, but let's just see. All right, here we go. Everybody ready? Am I going to survive? Apparently not.
That's pretty good. I like
Dale?
that, Brian.
Have at it, Dale.
Okay, Don, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to doing that video about the active antenna system with the NCC-1. That's going to be really neat. I've amazed myself at what that phase controller will do to a signal. It's just amazing. So anyway, that's coming up sometime next month probably. But Don, did you get Yosemite and iOS 8.1 installed okay on your iPhones?
Yes. Yeah, I got 8.1 done. I got Yosemite done. And I got to tell you something about 8.1. It seems like it has really, really, really helped the battery on my iPhone 5S.
Oh, mine too on my phone. It all day long, and it's still at 90% or something. That's amazing compared to the past. But I did run into something. They always say don't take version .0, and I'd been running the beta for 2 or 3 months anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But they snuck in a keynote upgrade the other day. I went to do the video, and I had the video and had the audio recorded in the track. And then what happened? Well, it would only export about 30 seconds of audio. So we had to jump through some hoops and bring in Final Cut Pro and do some stuff to get the Show Me Your Shack together this week. So something else, but time is tight. So let's jump right in now. Take that promised tour of Val NV9L's antenna farm, and you will not believe what you're seeing next.
And it's time for my version of Show Us Your Shack. Now, you don't need a fancy antenna to work some DX. There's my original antenna. It's a 3-element tri-bander. I had 45 feet up on my roof using an existing tripod I had for my TV Yagi. I got this for $100 used, and I worked over 200 countries using this antenna. Now, since moving in with my fiance, here's the antenna farm I get to work with now. In the foreground there is a 14-element tri-bander. It's at 90 feet. It's a Force 12 C31XR. And in the background, you might notice that commercial 500-foot tower back there. That hosts a cell site for AT&T. It also has a main 911 site for the county and a 2-meter ham repeater up at the top. Also, the National Weather Service has a continuous transmitter about 400 feet up there. Now, this is custom-made 6x6 on 15 meters. There's 2 6-element stacks on top of each other. One's at 60 feet. The other's at 120 feet. And you'll also notice on there an old Cushcraft 11-element 2-meter beam. Now, if you look at the red tower there, that is a 4-element 17-meter monobander up at 60 feet. And here's the 160-foot vertical for 80 and 160. It's actually a commercial broadcast-type tower that's sitting on a base insulator. There's over 30,000 feet of ground radials buried under that thing. And we proudly wave a U.S. flag at the top. Here's our newest addition to the antenna farm. It is a 7-element 10-meter Yagi. It's custom built and it's at 140 feet. Ain't she a beaut? And this tower is host to a Bencher Skyhawk tri-bander at 50 feet. And above that, you'll see a 9-element 6-meter Yagi, which is a modified M-squared. Man, do I love that shot. Well, that is a 3-element 12 and 17-meter dual bander at about 45 feet. And just above that at about 50 feet is 6 elements on 6 meters. Okay, at the very top of this is the 4-element full-size 40-meter Yagi. It's custom built and it's sitting at about 140 feet up. Below that, at 60 feet and 120 feet, are 2 20-meter rotatable monobanders. And this one is my favorite. This is 3 6-element 20-meter Yagis at 60, 120, and 180 feet, or 6x6x6, as you'll hear. There's also in there a 4-element 30-meter Yagi at about 90 feet. Now, this entire tower rotates. If you see the base here, it turns the entire tower instead of each antenna independently. And here's a glimpse at some of the coax entering the shack. Now, don't get discouraged after seeing this. This antenna farm actually took over 43 years to build. And that's my edition of Show Us Your Shack.
Wow, amazing, Val. Thank you very much. 43 years worth of antennas, and they're all still standing. So that's amazing. Right now, we'll jump right into the October installment of Show Me Your Shack. Welcome to Show Me Your Shack. Our cover shot comes from Dean, KJ6CQC. Rich, AA6VX, lives in Orcutt, California. He just upgraded his shack with a new Ten-Tech Omni 7. He also has an L-Craft KX3 for business trips. Dan, WA5CYR, sent us shots of his ATB34 4-element beam at 40 feet and several shots from inside the shack. Dan is an extra-class operator and enjoys working DX with 100 watts using his vintage Kenwood TS430s and an ICOM 706. He's building an amplifier now, too. Glenn, 8P6NW, sent this photo of his shack in Barbados. He's been a ham viewer for several months and has watched the last several shows live. He hopes to get a Heil PR40 microphone to use with his FT2000 soon. Jimmy, WA5TEF, bought the K4KIO hex beam after reading many online comparisons. It only took 3 hours to build. He uses it on all bands 20 through 10. Ian, VE3IJF, got his license in August and bought an ICOM ID51A to get started. Here's a shot of the handheld and accessories packed and ready to travel. Ron, KD2HEC, built his own 10-meter inverted V half-wave antenna. Here's a shot of the top half. And 20-meter post-show net control Steve, W7UDI, with a friend, stacked his tower and mounted the high-gain TH6 at the 82-foot level earlier this month. They used a 105-foot bucket truck. Took about 4 hours. Leo, KH6JI, is the guy to answer your questions at Kenwood. Here's his rig and a close-up view of his new Heil PR781. Brian Weber, WW1I, lives in New Hampshire. He flew F-16s during the Iraq War, now flies 737-800s for American Airlines. He's an extra-class operator, loves DXing, and his Flex 6300. Dom, N3DD, volunteered at the Ham Nation booth 2 years in a row at Dayton. He sent us this photo of his shack. He's got an FT-DX 5000 and a Kenwood TS850 for backup. And how about that vintage Collins S1 line set just to the right? Andy, WA9AJM, sent us this picture of his shack. Here's a young operator making a contact at the Yacht Club station, K8DAR, as another youngster looks on. The Yacht Club members take turns making contacts on the Candy Net on Sundays. The club's goal is to bring as many youngsters into the hobby as possible. And this 11-year-old young lady made 14 contacts on the day this photo was taken. It was her very first exposure to ham radio. Good things are happening thanks to K8DAR and the Yacht radio programs. Lou Roberts, KI6YWX, took Bob Heil's idea for a 4-channel mixer and built it. The photo shows his really nice job from the front, and here's the back view of the mixer with all the input and output jacks. Bruce, KU0V, uses a Yaesu FT950 along with an ICOM 2820H. His microphone's a Heil PR781. He's got a Gap Titan DX antenna on a tilt mount. Here's a shot where the coax enters the shack and a view of the Gap Titan. He also has a Diamond X300 Alpha VHF UHF antenna. ZW0AAA talks to the world from northern Minnesota. He's been a ham for 53 years. He chases DX, loves CW, and loves QSL cards. He has over 3,000 cards covering the walls of his 10-foot by 10-foot shack. He just made DXCC, too, the honor roll after working FT5ZM. Al, W0ERE, has been a friend of Bob Heil since they were teenagers. He just recently got a new hex beam on the air. And here's a little bit closer view. If you check into the Ham Nation 40-meter post-show net or the U.S. Coast Guard Club net, you know Dick, KE7A. Here's his shack in Dallas and Fort Worth area. He has an FT-DX 3000 along with an LP PAN 2 pan adapter and an FT950 for backup. This is his Mosley TA53M. It's up at 45 feet. He also has a Cushcraft R8 vertical and a WSPR station. Alex, KD0YNH, runs a Yaesu FT857 for high frequency. He also has a link to the Tracy, Minnesota Echolink repeater, a weather station, and an APRS gate. iGate, rather. It took 2 Dell computers to run his shack. And here's our cover photo again with Dean, KJ6CQC. And here's Dean operating from his porch in the mountains. He runs a PRC 104 man-pack portable from the nicest house on the block in Coolidge Ghost Town, Montana. And we close with a shot of Gordo at the Peoria Hamfest, sent in by Marcel, N9NJY. That's it. Show me your shack for October. Make sure to send your shack photos to HamNationVideos at twit.tv. Well, on the next video segment, either the 12th or 19th of November, not sure which yet, we're expecting a video report from David Hunt, KE5BMY. He covered Ham Radio Day at the Main Trading Company in Paris, Texas. And I'm hoping to put together a nice video demonstrating the amazing noise reduction capability that you can achieve with a pair of small active antennas and the NCC1 phase controller from DX Engineering. In the meantime, send your shack photos and links to your videos to HamNationVideos at twit.tv. That's about it from the Yellow Brick Road. We've had fantastic weather here. Amanda, how's it looking out in Canyon City?
The weather is still beautiful here, Dale. Thank you so much. And great video there. And Val, of course, happy birthday. Of course, I sent her an early happy birthday. We'll just ignore that. Okay. Hey, you guys, I have some questions here. So the first one, Mr. Bob, it's so nice to have you back on the show. What do you suggest to get first, an antenna analyzer or an SWR meter?
I say the analyzer because it will tell you if you have an SWR problem where it is, and it also is an SWR meter. So, no, the analyzer is the answer for sure.
Very good. And okay, so I have some dipole questions, and I'm hoping a couple of other of you guys can pick this up. So, and I think that Don's fairly aware of dipoles. So, Mr. Don, does the distance from the feed point to the balun make a difference?
Actually, we don't have Don right now, Amanda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can George pick that up?
Sure, and I would say yes, the distance between the balun and the feed point would make a difference because everything on the opposite side of that balun from the transmitter is considered part of your antenna. Wouldn't you say, Bob?
Yeah, I would. Fortunately, I don't have to have any of those because I use coaxial dipoles. But I would keep it up, as you saw with Gordo. Keep it up rather close. Don't take it down into the station because all that radiation is going to be down where you don't want it. So keep it up close to the antenna, don't you think, George?
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's what you're putting that air core balun in there for, is to keep that radiation off the feed line. So closer to the antenna feed point you got it, the better, in my opinion.
Very good. Thank you, guys, for those answers. And another dipole question. Does anyone know, was Gordo's dipole that he was showing a 1-to-1 balun?
That would have been a 1-to-1. What he was showing the air core is considered a 1-to-1. It's also called a choke or an ugly balun. There's a lot of names for it.
An ugly balun. I like that. Okay, yep. Thanks, George. Appreciate that. And George, one more question here. Are aluminum wires okay for buried radials? Is that a good idea?
Maybe for a little while. I don't know how well aluminum holds up in the soil. You know, I would say it's a lot more likely to corrode than copper would be. I know I've dug up copper radials at a AM station before that had been in the ground 35 years and, you know, no noticeable deterioration of them at all. But aluminum, I wouldn't think that's a good idea.
Okay. And I'm seeing a follow-up question here on chat. And I lost it. Why doesn't the coaxial dipole need a balun choke?
Because its actual feed point, when it comes up, the shield and the both sides are actually part of the antenna, and it's an amazing antenna. And I don't know why everybody doesn't use it. I don't need tuners because it's very broadbanded and absolutely trouble-free. Check it out, MIT Massachusetts Institute of Technology built it in 1938 for the radar antenna that worked in the World War II. And there's a lot of copies of it, and they call it the bazooka and all that. You go back and find the original, and you'll see what I mean. It's an amazing antenna, and it's covered in my book. If you have my book, there's quite a chapter on it, because I love those antennas, and I have proof. I've been using them for probably about 40 years, and it's really great. I love it because you don't have to have a tuner, and you don't have to have all the other stuff. It's all part of the antenna. It really works great. Coaxial antenna by MIT.
Very good. And that way it must be economical, because it sounds like a lot of people are into using those antennas. So thank you, Bob. So, of course, I have an open-end question here, and everybody has a different opinion. So I'm going to start with Dale. Do you solder or crimp your connectors?
Well, we did learn how to really crimp the 75 ohm connectors building this active antenna system. And I didn't solder those, of course, but I have always favored soldering, crimp them good and then solder that center connection. That's just the way I grew up. So that's it, Amanda.
So you believe in both of them. Okay, what about you, George?
I would say on PL259s, I always solder. I don't use any crimp-ons on that. I think maybe some commercial ones are decent, but I always use solder. And on other connectors, power poles, I'll usually crimp those, because if you solder it, it's kind of hard to get it up in the shell. But things like spade lugs and all such as that, I crimp and solder, because I've seen too many crimped ones that just didn't seem to last. So putting that little solder on there really helped out. If you just solder it alone, that'll work. But the crimp, that kind of, helps take the stress off of it a little bit, and then just a dab of solder to make sure you got it.
Very good. What about you, Bob?
Do I have to answer that? Let me tell you, there is nothing like a good solder connection. I don't care who you are. And I know there's all these things. Sorry. And when you're trying to solder coax connectors, don't do it with your little iron that we use for a printed circuit board. You got to have a good one of these big guys. And then you can get really good hot connections on those coaxial points, as well as up in the antenna. And that's a situation. A lot of guys, they buy a nice soldering iron to do printed circuit board, and then they try to do solder connections on their coax connectors, and that doesn't work. You just need a great big old iron. That right, George?
That's what I use, Bob. Yeah, the more power, within reason, the more power, the better.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys are funny. Thank you for your answers there. Appreciate it. I see a lot of solder on the chat here. So definitely appreciate your input. And I have a couple of announcements. NK8J Brad, he's on the chat all the time, every show. He wanted to announce that his dad has just upgraded to extra class, and his call sign is Alpha Charlie 8 Sierra Charlie. So big round of applause for him to upgrading to extra. Woo!
Yay!
And that's it. That's the only one I got there. And one little more thing. Chris, KU7PDX wanted us to know that the Swaptoberfest is happening Saturday, October 25th in Rickreall, Oregon. So you guys Google that for any more information. And that's about what I've got tonight. So I'll send it back to you, Bob. Anything else to add tonight?
Well, just remember the T-shirts if you guys and gals want to jump into this. Otherwise, they're going to go to the Goodwill. I hate to see that happen. Just call the Heil plant, and somebody there will take care of you. I want to mention one thing. I got this fabulous book, and it weighs a lot. But our friends at Universal Electronics, he's been doing this for years. Fred Osterman, Fred and Barbara own Universal. This book is amazing. I cannot tell you how long it would take him to do this. Every conceivable receiver you can think of. Here's a Lafayette. Check it out. I can hold it up here, right?
Wow.
Wow.
And that's it. I mean, those things haven't been built for years. Every receiver, and of course, I actually helped him with this when I got him together with John. There's the Mosley receiver that I love so much, and I actually got him personally to talk with John to get that because he hadn't had any information on it. But man, check it out. Go to Universal Electronics website. This thing it must weigh 5 pounds. It's shortwave receivers past and present. There's 1,700 receivers and 1,200 manufacturers all in here. Oh, God bless you, Fred. That's an amazing thing, and you'll get a lot of information from that. Tells you all of the specs and stuff of even the modern day receivers. I just thought we'd give a shout to Fred because that was a ton of work, and I'll be reading more about it as I get time. Well, it's just so good to be back, and hope everybody will be here next week. We're going to have a lot more things going on in this audio thing. I hope to have that by next week, if not week after. So stay in touch. So we'll take the time here to say good evening to everybody. Thanks to Leo Laporte. Brian, you're a real trooper. We enjoyed meeting everybody when we were out in Petaluma. Glad to be back home for a while, but we're going to be back on the road again. So take care, and don't forget this weekend, and look for Val in V9L. When you see the big pileups, they're probably calling her.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Antennas. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on Ham Nation. For now, it's best regards 7-3. Bye-bye for now.